Welcome to Don's Manufactory. Working on the door today. What I ended up doing was ordering some of these ready-made plates and hoping to avoid the need to be punching and shaping and dimpling my own metal, but these are not proper. I'm having to clearance around the latch to get the screw holes to line up. Then this is in the wrong spot and the dimples aren't big enough. So I tried clamping it into the latch and just screwing the screw down as hard as I could. And you can see how it started cupping, but it's still not proper. So what I am going to have to do here is I'm going to have to make a die, a punch and die for this. I was hoping to avoid that. I could make my own. I'm going to end up with all the tools to make my own now. So that's the deal for today. Seems like I'm always running into this kind of thing. Having to make tools or whatever in order to get this job done. Very frustrating, actually. Well, so I went off and bought some steel rod, 1-inch steel rod, and here I'm setting up. I actually hadn't done a drawing or planned this out, and as I was doing it, I figured out I wasn't going to get what I wanted, so I had to sort of rethink on the fly. It's kind of like cutting off the branch you're sitting on. Fortunately, I had enough material that I could get it all figured out and done. Okay, so this is the male part, first iteration. I ended up having to rework it a couple of times, you know, getting it just right. Now I'm cutting off the bar again, and now I'm going to make the female part. By now I'd sort of figured out what I was going to do. Bore a hole through the middle and machine the taper. Well, I have made the tool. Now it is time to try it. So basically, male end, female end, and they just fits through like that. It's way bigger now. Yeah, let's do the other ones. Well, that sure freaking looks good. Yep, there it is. So, the difference. Look at the difference in the size of those dimples. I'd like to give a shout out to Karl over at Make It Kustom. He was making some little dimpling tools like this. It was a little different. He just went ahead and drilled the 1/4-inch hole in both of them, and then made the part and then drove a hunk of 1/4-inch rod in there, which would work equally as well, but since how I was turning it on the lathe, I figured, well, I might as well make it all one deal. Now for the acid test. How does it fit the latch? Oh, look at that. It's perfect. Fits right in there exactly. Fits right into those divots in the latch. Perfect. Yes. Well, now I can weld these things in. So I'm just setting up here, getting my little pieces. You can see this one's broken out completely. All 3 of these have to be welded. But this one here, I should be able to clean this up and tack the outer edge of it, and then I'd have to take the screw out and then go around. My idea here is that I'm going to drill holes through the door to spot weld this plate in place. And then when I weld these in, I'll just let it burn through to the reinforcement. Okay, so here's what I got done so far. Prepping for welding. I got little 1/4-inch holes for little spot welds. And I've got this thing redone so it's ready to go in and get welded in from the back. I think I'm going to just curl up this, just bend that tag a little bit. Wow, and that rivet just came right out. Didn't really want it to do that, but okay. So, yeah, and then I just got to bolt this in and, you know, get all the pieces organized.
And here we go again with the ubiquitous welding footage. As I was working around this, and this is another one of those sequences scored things. We're doing it just right in order to get the metal not to warp and to get the little pieces back exactly where they belong. It took a little bit of doing, but it went pretty quickly. I guess I'm getting used to doing this kind of thing now. Now I'm welding in around the little pieces. Turns out that the stress cracks, you know, after I took the paint off and was prepping it, I realized how long those stress cracks actually were, how far they went. They kind of went off like spider webs in different directions. Took a little bit more welding than I thought it would. It was a lot worse, worse than I had planned on, I guess. Okay, now I'm dressing around the holes, trying to get the scraggy weld out of the countersink so the screws, you know, tighten in and bite like they're supposed to. A little dressing off, and voila, the big test. Will it fit?
There it is. As it's a little scraggy here and there. I'm going to have to do a little cleanup, but the latch goes in good and it's real solid. So, cool. I even got my tag back in where it belongs. Hi, welcome to Don's Manufactory. Today's update. I was just finessing my dimple tool that I made yesterday. Basically, what I ended up doing here was putting a sort of a rounded polished point on it. While the tool worked perfectly for my use, the original hole was already there. So I tried some tests on just regular sheet metal here. And if I start with a 1/4-inch hole, you can see how big the hole becomes by the time the metal has stretched down into the dimple. So then I tried a 3/16 hole, and it's a little smaller, but with that little point on this, I can start with an 1/8-inch hole and let this point swedge open from the 1/8-inch hole and then do the dimple. So I end up with a 1/4-inch center and a perfect dimple. I don't want to use a smaller guide pin because it'll just break off. So that's the story on the tool. Working really good. I did a couple of little touch-up welds and a little more sanding down in the countersinks, and just a little more dressing off to make the welds look a little better. It looks really good. It's so stout. I mean, you can't stick your fingers in here and bend the metal like you could before. So hopefully that'll give me a good solid door close. That's what it looks like. All welded in. You can see the expanded dimples. In fact, you can see the ring around them where the old edge used to be. Yeah, it fits in there pretty good. and I didn't have the heat up so hot on the welding. It didn't make any bulbous welds come through on the inside, so the latch bolts up nice and square. One thing I was worried about is that this latch is now 1 millimeter further into the door, and I thought maybe the latch, the striker, might catch on the dogs here. But it just clears. I mean, there's probably still another millimeter of movement. The door could go forward. No weather strips yet, so it doesn't, you know, it's loose, of course. But there you go. It looks pretty good. Thanks for watching.